Yuka. I teach psychology and English. I teach study skills using psychology and neuroscience evidence. Okay, so study is called "Can aerobic exercise be used as a strategy to reduce test anxiety?" So what is test anxiety? It's defined as excessive worries about taking tests and is believed to have negative impacts on students' test performance. So it's quite a serious problem. Effects of aerobic exercise. As for the effects of aerobic exercise, in recent years, this has been attracting attention. In their exhaustive review, Hillman, Erickson, and Kramer, 2008, report conclusive evidence of cognitive function enhancing, several aspects of cognitive functions of aerobic exercise, both in vivo and in vitro. And they point out neurogenesis through BDNF, that's brain-derived neurotropic factor, as one of the mechanisms. There's some more. Can aerobic exercise alleviate test anxiety in college students? That was the question Yoshida and Masda asked, presented the results last year here. And we reviewed literature to investigate the above question. And the conclusion was yes. So the next few slides sort of summarize their findings. So first, the frequency and duration of aerobic exercise were correlated with academic performance in 740 students. That's quite a large number of students. And acute
Yuka-san?
Yes?
Sorry, it seems you're still on slide 2 for us. Your slides are not going forward.
Oh, really?
Yeah, sorry.
In my, does this help?
Let's see. Right, we're on what is test anxiety slide.
Okay.
Okay, good. Thank you.
So I'll stop slideshow then. That seems to work.
Okay. Thank you.
So that was the effects of aerobic exercise. Reviewed by Hillman, Erickson, and Kramer, 2008. Both in vivo and vitro, etc. BDNF, and that's our review last year done at Tokyo JALT. And this is one of the things they reported. So frequency and duration of aerobic exercise were correlated with academic performance in 740 students. And acute, that means done sort of on the spot, just it's a bit like acute ailment, but it's used for exercise in this topic area of research. So acute aerobic exercise is also thought to influence our emotions, including anxiety. So far, so good. So despite such evidence, the amount and frequency of aerobic exercise drastically decreases in college students compared to high school students, while test anxiety tends to increase. So this suggests the lack of exercise may be the cause of increased test anxiety in college students. So we located the source of the problem. But while the past research demonstrates positive effects of aerobic exercise on general anxiety, only one study, as far as we know, we're aware, has focused on test anxiety. So research question is, do the degrees of test anxiety vary depending on their exercise habits? So we did an online survey, anonymous survey, with 100 college students at the age of 20 or over. The average age was 21.5 in the age range from 20 to 30, but mostly they were pretty young, as you can see. 65 female students, 35 males. And we used the Cognitive Test Anxiety Scale questionnaire created by Cassidy and Johnson 2002 and translated it into Japanese and used it. There were 21 questions, and an example would be, I lose sleep over worrying about examinations. And there were 4 scales of answers provided. Participants would choose one of these from 1 to 4, but there were 2 types of questions actually. Some questions, positive answers to some questions meant they had test anxieties, and some negative answers to some other questions meant they had test anxieties. So just in case we, to be on the safe side, we separated these 2 categories and analyzed them separately, as well as the total scores as well. So we call these total scores the grand total. And the more survey questions asking about their exercise habits. There were 4 questions for both aerobic and anaerobic exercise, and we asked the total frequency and total hours per week. Also, because we wanted to know the effects of aerobic exercise specifically, we also asked aerobic exercise, the total frequencies and hours of aerobic exercise only. Okay. So, and then we compare the grand total and as well as positive, negative questions of test anxiety, and also the answers to the previous 4 questions about their exercise habits. And first we go through the descriptives. There are 56 students, only 56 students reported of regular weekly physical activities. So that means 44 students had no regular exercises. So 10 out of these 56 students only performed anaerobic exercise regularly. So the rest maybe 2 types combined, etc., or just aerobic exercise. And this confirms that university students indeed engage in a very small amount of regular physical activity, just as pointed out by Yoshida and Masda last year. And some more descriptives. The grand total scores of test anxiety ranged between 27 and 108, but the average was 70.4, the minimum 40, maximum 108. That means they were very worried. The students were very worried about tests. And this is the results from the correlation analysis. The grand total scores of test anxiety had a statistically significant weak correlation between with frequencies of both aerobic and anaerobic exercise combined. The scores, however, were not significantly correlated with neither of the total hours of both types of exercise or the total hours and frequencies of aerobic exercise. So a bit contrary to our prediction. And the post hoc analyses, we ran a post hoc analyses with only 56 exercises, and the results were go along with the trend. The frequencies of both exercises correlated with both the grand total scores as well as the positive total of test anxiety. So that means using only the exercising data, you can see the correlation a bit more clearly. So considering only about half the participants regularly exercised, this fact may have undermined the effects of exercise. And as demonstrated in the post hoc analysis, I wrote the same thing again. Yeah, this may indeed be true, okay? So some more discussion. So why the frequency, only the frequency shows correlation, any correlations, not the amount of exercise, how many hours you engage in exercise. The possible explanation may be that recently there are many reports emphasizing the effects of intermittent exercise spread across a whole day, like a few times, practice a few times, rather than a longer period of exercise done only once a day. So this may have something to do with it, rather than the frequency, rather than how long you engage in exercise, may have more effect. So this is the conclusion. The statistically significant correlations, as we have seen, between the test anxiety scores and the frequencies of exercise go along with the hypothesized relationship between exercise and test anxiety. Okay, we're not talking about the causation, but it is possible because this is a correlational analysis. We mean to do a bit more analysis using maybe ANOVA, but for future tasks, the main future tasks would be to explore the association between aerobic exercise alone and test anxiety scores with a larger sample, which might help us see the association more clearly. And with additional questions, we'd like to add questions to examine the temporal relationship between exercise and test anxiety. That means, did you exercise before you felt test anxiety and so on? But we really couldn't work out how to do this, how to put these questions. So that's why we didn't do it this time. Thank you very much for your interest. And if you could feedback, maybe not just now, but maybe later through email, that would be very much appreciated. And thanks for, sorry about the speech.
Thank you very much, Yuka-san. Thank you. I know you need to rush off to your bus, but thank you very much for presenting for us tonight.
My pleasure.
Thank you.